Well, welcome here to the next chapter here on the Lamb Video Network. We are so glad that you've joined us today, that you're taking time out to have a little bit of fun and to learn some and to just gather with fellow believers. This is Sandi Craig. I'm Sandi Craig, your fifth day of the week host for this time slot, and I am broadcasting right here from Amarillo, Texas. And from our home, actually, one of these days I'll be broadcasting again from Life of Worship in our new location. My husband, John Craig, and I co-pastor the congregation here in Amarillo. The Life of Worship services, guess what? We try to be live on YouTube every Shabbat, Saturday. We usually go after worship, so it's about 6 p.m. Central, and you can get more information about that and all of the ministries at Life of Worship at www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org. We also have, John and I have a Tuesday evening broadcast, 8 p.m. Central, called Walking in Spirit and Truth. We host Monday morning War Room prayers at 7:30 a.m. Central, and then John hosts Let Us Reason Together at 8:45 a.m. Central on Mondays. You don't want to miss any of those, as well as all the Messianic Lamb Network video broadcasts. You want to stay tuned, and because there's always something good going on. Anyway, I'm really excited about today's show, and I'm going to let you know why here in a few minutes, because it's just going to be an amazing show. So what you need to do right now is call everybody up and tell them, hey, don't miss it, because this is our topic. Listen closely. The aroma of a living sacrifice is our main topic. And maybe that gives you a few hints of our guest. Well, I'm not introducing her yet, but I'm going to give you it. It's Nitza Moshe. Yeah. Nitza Moshe from Remedy and Remnant Radio. Yeah. We're going to talk to her in a few minutes. Well, today is our 8th show for the next chapter. And it's time is ticking. That's all I can say. And we have announcements here at the network. Just some news that you need to be aware of. Planned Parenthood employee admits to trafficking in baby body parts. Yeah, that's a news show. That's a bit of news you need to be aware of. And it was on Let Us Reason Together with John Craig, Sandi Craig, Joe Cameron, and Mark David Smith. And also the depravity of humanity, because they don't walk in truth. And that you saw that on the next chapter a while back by Sandi Craig, Joe Cameron, and Mark David Smith. The surge of psychotic violence is also a news story you need to be aware of. John Craig, Sandi Craig, Rabbi Darrell Weinberg, Mark David Smith on Mondays. Let Us Reason Together. Anyway, there is a whole bunch more, because there's a show segments page, and God Plumbline Measuring Rod by Alan Aguirre, Rabbi Darrell Weinberg, and Jamie Lewis from the Chameleon Church Show, and Jewish Evangelism versus Support for Israel by Rabbi Darrell Weinberg and Alan Aguirre from the Chameleon Church Show, and how unity works. Hey, be aware of this stuff. Go back, watch it again if you think you had it, because we need to know. We need to be able to tell others what's happening around the world around us. Anyway, as I said, our guest host today, our guest host is Nitza Moshe. Next week is Dr. Dina Dye. Yeah, she had to cancel for this week, and she's bumping ahead a week. So we're really excited about that. So you can also meet the host on the Meet the Host page on MessianicLambRadio.com. Yeah, you don't want to forget that one. MessianicLambRadio.com. Well, let me tell you guys, this is an interactive show. You can join us in the chat room, or you can listen live at our website. Yeah, but if you're not interested in chat, that is. But if you are, you don't want to miss the chat that goes on here. And also remember that every archive of the previous week's show is right there on MessianicLambRadio.com. If you're watching from YouTube, please right now hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed before, do that and share it on your social media. In fact, get up in front of everybody you know, get up in front of your congregation, your family, but specifically your congregation on the next Shabbat, and tell everybody about Messianic Lamb Radio, the Messianic Video Network, Messianic Lamb Video Network. Anyway, again, we're excited to have you. And guess what? You don't have to be here alone with me only, because I have exciting people that are with me. And of course, we have G.I. Joe, the Hebrew from Ohio, who hosts Sunday and Thursday War Room Prayers. And I just got to be with her. Hello, Joe.
Hi. And you were talking about me, right? Messianic lamb.
I was talking about you, sir.
Yeah. This is Messianic lamb.
Put him right in the center so they could see. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Now we can really see him.
I got him for Mark.
I love it. I love it.
Mark's like, no. Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm excited. I am excited to hear what Nitza is going to share. I am and then next week with Dina Dye. But every week I'm excited to be here.
Exactly. I'm excited when you share or I share or Sherry shares or Mark. You know what? We have a great show.
We do. So share it.
Share it. Invite people to watch it. Hey, let's get the news out. Well, I think we should introduce our other guests because we have 2 guests today. Guests, what are you talking about? Well, one, oh my goodness, is Mark David Smith. He is producing the show. He's owner of the Messianic Glam Network. Hello, Mr. Mark. Yo, okay, whatever. Well, he'll show his face maybe. Okay, now he's decided to show his face.
This is so much fun. I love it. I love the week we had Sherry on there, and Sherry and I were on the bottom, and I kept putting my mind up, and Sherry would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That was fun. I'll have to do that with the other guest here in a minute.
You might confuse us a little, Mark, but it's always so good to have you here with us. I think, was it last week that we missed you out much, or the week before that you weren't on much? I guess it was last week and
last week. Last week, the rabbi was on, and I didn't feel real good. I'm feeling a little better today. I was telling you earlier that I'm a little shaky. You know, the back and forth. That's kind of the way I feel today. But you know, I'm okay. I'm good. So I'm behind. I'm back in the sea. Oh, wait, you can see in my closet. Wait, hold it there. Don't want anybody seeing in my closet. See,
it's top secret.
Yeah, it is. It's top secret. By the way, Sandy, I don't know if you noticed in the chat, but I was letting everybody know that you don't keep a secret very well. So, and your mom says, "Oh no, she does. She's pretty closed mouthed." At first I thought she said you were closed minded, and then I got closer and closer. No,
yeah.
Yeah.
As a pastor, you end up you're like a vault. That's like what Tova said. As a pastor, there's a lot of things you just have to hold tight. And sometimes you don't want to, but you got to. It's the way it is.
Not on air. Sandy can't hold the secret on air for nothing.
That is not true.
Well, you were just a little bit ago. You were not going to tell us who the guest was. I'm just going to tell you. So
I wrote it all over my script. And so I was like, I have Nitza's name. Speaking of Nitza, before we go on, let's just introduce her. Nitza Moshe, the host of Remnant Remedy at remnantremedy.com. She is here on Messianic. It's here on Messianic Radio Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern. And here we have Nitza. Hello, my. Okay.
Are you dizzy?
Like when the
are you dizzy?
That's because he's got those unclean dinner behind him.
Are you talking about his Kraken? Does he have his Kraken out?
He's got lobsters and I don't know. Squid.
Those are Krakens.
That's his Krakens, yeah.
See, in our lives, everyone thinks that she mentioned it. Hey, not my fault. She mentioned it. So, see, in our lives, every once in a while, we have Kraken. We release the Kraken in our lives. And so we kind of need a little tugboat to come along and get the Kraken out of our lives. And the tugboat is Yeshua. See, you got an octopus up here. You come along and
Can you do that again, Mark? I like the sound. Hey,
release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken. Well, I have a question for you guys. This is the get to know you question. So everybody gets to know all of the people here on the next chapter. What do you like to do on a rainy day? And for those in the chat room, what do you like to do on a rainy day? Mark.
Everything that I can't do outside.
You can't be specific.
Watch movies and play on the computer, make videos, all that kind of stuff. I'm not really so much an outside person. And I really don't like yard work, that kind of stuff. So I actually like the rain. When we have rain at night, I'm real depressed. It's like, can't you rain during the day? I mean, I like to sit out on my huge screened-in porch and watch the rain in the daytime. You can't do that at night.
Well, Nitza, what do you like to do? Since you're in your part of the country, it rains a lot.
I was going to say I'm pretty sick of rain. It's not so much the rain as it is just the clouds. But if I had nothing to do, I would crawl up in a bed all day and read a book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Joe, what about you? What do you do on a rainy day?
It depends. If my kids are around, we like to play board games.
I love games. Joe, we're going to have games at Sukkot because I love games.
Board games are so much fun on a rainy day.
But we're not.
If I'm alone, I'm like Nitza, get in that bed, get nice and toasty warm. I used to live in Washington State, so we did that a lot. And then get a book and read a good book and turn off the phone.
Well, hey, I thought of something else.
What?
People could go to messianiclambradio.com and listen to a bunch of shows that they didn't hear before, because now we're playing like segments of shows and stuff. See how Messianic Lamb Radio kind of bounces around. See, that's what you could do on a rainy day.
It is. Listen to, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, on a rainy day, I'm like, there's a lot of work to be done. I got to work. I was raised by a mom who's in our chat room who has said every moment needs to be spent working. And she's not like that. I mean, she works hard. She's chilled out some, but I still have to sometimes get that voice out of my head. But I think chilling out, and this is what I would love, for it to be a rainy day where my husband would be here and I could just sit on the couch and chill out and have popcorn and maybe watch a movie or just whatever. Yeah. It'd be a great pantomime beauty. Just having us all together on a rainy day. Yeah.
Or you can just play pantomime, right?
Hey, yeah, that's right. You can even play pantomime by yourself.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Anyway, well.
I like Nitza's.
I have a question of the day for you guys now too. And I didn't get nobody from the chat room told me what they do on a rainy day. You're going to have to let me know. But a recent poll of adults revealed that 20% really? Oh, Joe. No. I can't do it. Which way am I going? Oh, well, I can do Mark.
Nitza, you like our new system? This is fun.
Anyway, 20% of us eat this every day. What do you think it could be? Oh,
20%.
I missed it. So let me go back up and look for Tova's answer.
You said 20% of the people on the planet do this every day or think this every day?
Eat it every day.
Oh,
and
eat it.
Eat it. Well, you're doing that. Tova said on a rainy day she likes to clean out drawers and shelves and stuff around the house. If it's Shabbat, she likes to read. And she loves rain and clouds, and because sunshine's distracting.
She needs to chill. It's because of where you live, though. You live in the South. You want rain.
That's true.
We desire rain so much. We pray for rain.
I desire sunshine. So.
And Twyla, who's Jerry Shinka, she's using my daddy's name. Twyla says she loves blizzards. We're not talking blizzards, Mom. So anyway, what do you guys think that 20% of people eat this every day? Just think about that. And by the way, speaking of the
Only
question
20.
today, I skipped last week's question, what the answer was. Do you remember the question, guys? Nope. You don't even remember the question. Here it was. It was a survey out reveals that 42% of men have these.
That's right.
So
That's right. That's right. Lisa, let me tell you what, she comes up with the same kind of stuff every week. And I have to sit here and go,
Really? Really, Mark? Really? It's a man cave.
What?
Do you have a man cave, Mark?
do I have a man cave?
Yes.
You're in it right now.
So you're one of those 42%.
Is that what it is? Really, a man cave?
A man cave. 42% of men have it, but we're at 20-some% have eat this every day. So think about that as the show goes on. And I want to tell you about a game we're going to be playing today. We have a secret word that we're going to be using, and it's up to you guys to guess what that word is. Yeah, we're going to be using it throughout the show. You need to figure out what that word is. Hey, let us know. There's no prize. It's just a woo, woohoo. That's all you get.
Yeah, right.
Woohoo.
No, it's
you make sure you do that well. Woo!
that's right.
That's
Hey,
woo-hoo.
because we have Nitza on here, I have a question that maybe you three ladies can help me with. There was a point in my life when I was doing a lot of different pharmaceutical drugs. And I mean, not illegal
Prescribed,
drugs.
correct.
They were, prescribed drugs.
Okay.
Well, I still do a few. There's a few illnesses that I have that require me to do a few pills every day. And I have a problem. Now, y'all are familiar with these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has seen these, right?
Yes, I detest them, but yes.
Well, the I'm 65. I've had to have those for the past 20
You're
years.
growling, okay.
Well, anyway, my problem is that I can really there's really I only 2 days of the week that I can really take my pills. For instance, like
You got
I
Monday
get
through
up.
Sunday and you can only take them 2 days?
No, my problem is that when I go to my pill dispenser and I'm thinking, okay, it's today, I need to take today's pills. And there's really only two on here that has a T on it for today. So I can really only take my pills 2 days a week, and I don't get it. Can you guys help me so that I can?
Oh my. I'm going to tell you to get a little marker and learn the days of the week.
Oh,
They're
put
not-
a T on every day?
No.
The little thing here, just mark it, move it around, stick it with a note today, and just move
Today.
it every day.
Oh, gosh, that is.
There
I
you
knew
go.
you guys could solve my problem.
I think that was a little bit of wacky news, actually, which we have News Attack. We have the News Attack. We need to get an intro for News Attack. Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
Here, let me write that down. News.
Hey, think about this. Some people have no idea where everyday food comes from. Yeah, a new survey found that many of you have no idea. In fact, 2% of people think that bacon, which we don't eat, right, comes from a cow. So I guess they're talking.
Well, beef bacon does.
But I heard Tova sent me this thing that talks about how all bacon is carcinogenic. Yeah,
Even beef
because of the chemicals and the nitrites in it. And
well, that may be possible.
Tova, did you
So-
have to do that? I finally get a bacon I like, and now I'm going to have
so
to.
turkey bacon, bad. Cow
Well,
bacon.
so is grilling on the barbecue.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well,
It's really, but you can do it once in a while as long as you detox.
as long as you detox. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you guys are something else.
Anyway, I don't remember. Did I tell you about the ice cream, the hot dog and spicy mustard ice cream before, since we're on that
No.
kind of junk?
No.
Well, Mark, there's an ice cream just for you. It's hot dog and spicy mustard ice cream. And I
Mhm.
thought, I think they created it for you.
I'll bet it's as good
Gross.
as bacon shakes.
Yeah, that's just disgusting.
Hey,
I don't eat spicy mustard anyway. I only eat the yellow plain
yellow
mustard.
bottle.
I cannot handle spicy mustard at all. We ordered hamburgers at this place one time, and my son got one with spicy mustard on it, and I got one with regular mustard, and they mixed them up and put the spicy mustard on mine. I took one bite, and they had to take it back.
Ugh. Well, I like spicy mustard in certain dishes. Like I make a spicy mustard. I put a little bit in some stuff over fish with a lot of other things. It's good, but there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place. Hey, Tova said that the news out about the bacon, which contains those nitrites, it's from the World Health Organization, because nitrates are a class 1 carcinogen, just like lunch meat. Processed food is not Tov, guys.
Well,
Not
the nitrates and the nitrites, there are some lunch meats now out there that don't have them anymore. So there might be some bacon out there too. You just have to read the labels, people.
Read the labels. Yeah. Hey, I want to know about this, and then we're going to go on. Have any of you experienced, especially from your kids or your husbands or your wives, they screw up chores on purpose? Yeah. Some people screw up chores so this is news, guys. I got this from a news story. Some people screw up chores so they don't have to do them again. Do you hate doing some of the chores? Do you fake an illness, or worse, screw them up so badly that your significant other wouldn't ask you to do them again? Sounds lazy and selfish.
Oh yeah.
28% of men.
Oh yeah.
28% of men do this on purpose.
Oh yeah.
And 20% of women say they put effort into getting out of the chores too.
Oh no, not my wife. No, but I will do that just so. Honey, you're not watching, are you? Just so that she'll do them.
Well, have you guys ever done that? Surely not, right?
It would never cross my mind. I mean,
Well,
my parents
she has
not out of me. Are you kidding?
Nitza has no sin in her.
No, that's not true.
At all.
It just hasn't got to do with chores or working.
My parents would make me do it over.
Yeah.
They made me do it over. If it didn't get done correctly, do it over. But with my husband, if he comes in and complains about something that I had just finished or I'm working on, like sweeping the floor, and he'll say, you missed a spot, and I'm still sweeping the floor, I hand him the broom and I walk out of the room and I said, thank you for volunteering.
Well, my husband has done that. I don't know that he's done it on purpose, but I think so, because I just say, let me do it. I'll take care of it. I'll do it. Just go ahead and sit down.
Not Sparky.
There is
not
a difference
Sparky.
when you come in to do it because they're not doing it right. And then you're overbearing and ruining their self-image. But
no, I like it that he comes in and starts, pointing things out, because it means, oh, here, you volunteered. Hand him the washcloth, hand him the rag, whatever you're doing. Like the toilet bowl brush, which is one of the things I hate to do. Oh, you're not scrubbing it right. Oh, here, thank you. And I can go and read my
John,
book.
John, are you watching the show? Are you listening to what Sandy's saying about you and doing chores and stuff? You need to turn the show on right now, man. This is really good stuff. All right, later.
I have to say this. John cleans the bathrooms. He does. He does. He does a great job of that. Hey, Tova said that she's had employees that purposely do it on purpose because they think they would not have to do it. They've never met Sergeant Tova, is what she said. And and Twyla, who's under the name Jerry Shinkus, says she has employees that made. She hasn't done it herself because she's ultimately the boss and she's going to have to fix it. So, hey, and we're supposed to do everything unto the Lord, right? Right.
Amen.
Well,
like being under the law.
Guess what, folks?
Under the list of wisdom instructions. I learned that this last weekend with Dina Dye and Dr. Walton. So,
cool.
Yeah. That's the ancient concept and the right concept of Torah, not law.
Well, guess what? It is time for our homeschool segment. Yeah, it's time for a homeschool segment. We're going to spend just a couple minutes there, and then we got Mark's segment, and at the bottom of the hour, we're going to get to our main segment. So, hey, everybody, homeschool time.
Well, you've decided to homeschool, and we talked about deschooling. I think it was a couple weeks ago. And a lot of people don't understand what deschooling is. So I thought I would just bring up a couple of suggestions that I've used over the years for deschooling. And this time of year, everybody's in school and you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do. I haven't gotten my curriculum yet. And you want to do it like school, but you said, no, I don't want to do it like school. So you're trying to figure it out. What I do every year, I did this with my kids, and I learned this from another homeschooler, is we would pick up, I don't know if you can see these composition books like at the dollar store or Walmart. And see, there's a pretty one. You know how girls like pretty ones. There's this one and this one. Or you could use the spiral bound. And what I did is I would tell my kids, like if they were younger, I would help them out with it. But I would tell my kids to sit down and write some of the things that they were interested in learning about. Computers, in science, in history, and write it down for me. And we would keep this journal, but also this journal for the beginning of the year with deschooling, we would go on nature walks, and I would have them go sketch something out. Like if they saw something interesting during a nature walk, go sketch it out, and write down what they think it is and go do a little research on it. And spend a little time on the computer researching some of the topics that they had as well, alongside with me. Now with the little ones, I would sit down and write it down with them. What do you want to learn? And of course you have to be careful because some of the little ones get a little goofy on some of their subjects and everything. And another thing you could do is, we talked about it earlier in the earlier segments, pull out some board games like Scrabble or Boggle, or even what is it called? Pictionary, and things like that. Pull those out and have fun with your kids. Get to know your kids, because when your kids were in school, you didn't really get to know them, and this is a great time to get to know them and find out what they're learning. The way they learn, are they hands-on, are they visual, or are they a textbook kind of a person? These are some of the suggestions that I had for deschooling, and I would love to hear what Sandi and Nitza have, because I know you two homeschooled as well.
Well, I will let Nitza give a quick comment on that.
Well, one of the things I used to do is, especially with the smaller children, is I would have them just draw or color whatever they were listening to, whatever story we were reading, even if we're just reading the Bible, and or they could get up and they could pantomime and show us their pictures and drawings. And there would be a learning comprehension to see if they heard and could, give you feedback back on what they were learning. So. Yeah,
that, and I also did copy work with them, with scripture verses or what they're reading about, so that they would work on their penmanship and also their spelling skills. And during that time, you get to know your children a little bit better as well, especially when you're sitting there playing those board games like Scrabble. Even if you have a little 5-year-old and you have your other children and they're doing the Scrabble, let your 5-year-old help you put the tiles down, because they've learned from doing with you. Don't push them aside. Let them join in with the older kids. And that happens a lot because we think that we're supposed to the Spanish tongue does not work on certain words. So there you go. There's one word you found out. You put kids in those boxes, and we don't need to be doing that. It's a family. And we're to be together.
Well, take math and learn math.
I know that for me, Jonathan was a very whole body learner. He never sat still in a chair. He'd be on his head. He'd be, and to get him to see and touch, to go, maybe have class outdoors or learn outdoors or bring it, now there are times when I put him in a chair and it seemed more like a classroom, but there are other times, especially when he's younger, that whatever you're teaching, you go out and you explore it. You explore it outside. You go around your house. You're learning shapes. If they're young, you go around your house and you find every shape. That's what I'm doing with Anne Mariah right now. We have circle day, or we have square day, or we have red day. And we go around the house and we find everything that we can do. And she's just 18 months, but she's doing it. So
Yeah, one of my sons, he's like your son, Jonathan Michael. And one day I saw him sitting still, which amazed me. And I was like, what is he doing outside sitting there? And he was kind of laying with his hands, like this on the ground and just kicking his little legs up. And I'm like, okay, something's up. So I went, and he had his notebook sitting there, one of these composition books. And I said, what are you doing? He says, Mom, be careful, be careful. I said, be careful of what? He says, you're going to kill the ants. He was sitting there watching these ants. He put a piece of bread on the ground where these ants were, and he was sitting there watching these ants work. And he was just spending time watching them go back and forth. And every once in a while, he would draw a picture of them or write something down that he wanted to know more about ants. So
wow.
even something like that we think, oh, that's a waste of time. And some parents would have kicked that away. That's not a waste of time. That's them.
The frontiermen and they came across the country, Lewis and Clark and Captain John Smith. They mapped out and wrote all that information down for people to use. That was educational. And I mean, how did they study all the birds and classify them and all the animals? Yeah.
I love
exactly. And my daughter tried to make a raft to go down our creek. and it was so much fun to watch, because she would build it and she would put it in the creek and it would sink, and she goes, okay, I got to do something else. And she'd find different things. And she was learning like an engineer. She was learning like Lewis and Clark, because people have to go across a river. They had to build a boat. They had to figure out how to do these things. They didn't have a textbook teaching them. And this is how they learned. And it was so much fun to just sit in a chair and watch my kids, their different abilities of how they learned. And I had my oldest son, he was always with his nose in a book. I had to sometimes take the book out of his hand and say, run, play, so
I love it.
It's fun. But this is something to look into and do, because you will see how amazing it is, and it will really free you up.
Exactly. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Joe, for this homeschool minute. And we have another segment coming up. What is it? It's Mark's segment. And I'm just going to give you the title. You figure it out. You take a guess. As soon as. It's all yours, Mr. Mark David Smith.
Are you rocking now?
Yep.
All right, let's go to John 5. Anybody, everybody, you can, if somebody will put John 5, 1, 2, and 3 in the chat, that would be fine. John 5 says, after this, there was a Judean festival, and now I'm actually reading from I'm reading from David Stern's and anyway, after this there was a Judean festival, and Yeshua went up to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem by the sheep gate is a pool called in Aramaic Bet Zeta, in which lay a crowd of invalids, lame, crippled. In verse 2, does anybody else have anything that says that they were under a porch or anything like that?
Nope.
Mine says
really?
having 5 porches.
5 porches, right. And what translation is that?
Porches?
Well, no, what translation are you?
The King James.
Okay.
It's a colonnade or interior piazza.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Mine says the sheep's gate.
Yeah, but under that it says like 5 covered colonnades.
Okay. I'm on Bible Hub, which gives you one verse, and then it gives you several different translations, and I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a whole bunch of them, and every one of them has a different thing, like 5 covered colonnades, 5 covered porches, 5 roofed colonnades, so on and so forth. Stern doesn't even mention it, which I think was quite interesting. He just says, he's coming through the gate and crowd of invalids. I thought that was interesting, and I went and kind of looked up a couple of things. Based on this, it's really hard to tell what Jewish festival or Judea. It says Judean. What's your guys say? In that very first verse, it says Jewish festival.
Feast of the Jews. But mine also says it in the Hebrew tongue, and yours says Aramaic.
Okay, I know, but isn't it interesting? These are God's festivals, and the translations putting Jewish or even Stern has Judean festival, and I didn't take the time to actually look it up in Hebrew or Aramaic or anything like that, but I think that's real interesting. So it also, whenever I see that, it always makes me wonder what festival it is, because whatever's happening, especially in the New Testament, whatever is happening around the time that it mentions a festival has to do with that festival. But in this verse, in the first verse, it really doesn't give you any inclination even of which festival it is or what they were doing, short of these crippled people laying underneath the colonnades or the porches. So I did some major research here, and I got across the board an extreme wide variation of it could either be Passover, Shavuot, or Feast of Tabernacles. The 3 major feasts where they have to go up there, go to Jerusalem. And of course, it mentions Jerusalem twice here. So you would almost assume that it has to be one of those 3 festivals instead of one of the 7. And so as I looked, I already had a preconceived idea because of what's going to happen here. Going down to verse, in which lake crowds of invalids. I see. Stern has a little asterisk here talking about the water moving and all of that kind of stuff, which is apparently not in the original text. Then verse 5 says, one man was there who had been ill for 38 years. Yeshua, seeing this man and knowing that he had been there a long time, said to him, do you want to be healed? Well, and in most texts, verse 4, let me jump over there real quick. Verse 4 in a lot of different texts talks about, for an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after the stirring up of the water, stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. No wonder they took that out of there. That's too spiritual, man. You can't have that kind of spiritual stuff in the Bible. That's just ain't right? Okay, let's put it this way. Now, the 3 of you are very well versed in the Moedim. Which one of the 3? We're going to boil it down to 3 because obviously it is one where they go up to Jerusalem. So which one of the 3? Passover, Shavuot, or Feast of Tabernacles has to do with water or mikvahs, because these people were going into the water, which is basically a mikvah in itself. So which one of the 3 has more to do with mikvahs or water than the other 2? Which one, Passover, Shavuot, or Feast of Tabernacles, is more baptisms or mikvahs done at? Come on, Sadie, I know you do it every year at this
We
festival.
do it. We mikvah at every feast. We mikvah at every festival.
Okay. Well,
Say
it's
Shavuot.
more Shavuot.
I think
Shavuot
it's
is the
Shavuot.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shavuot. Exactly. So when I read this and it just even starts and I'm trying to figure out what festival, I mean, I go right there. It's Shavuot. It has to be. Well,
It had to be warm, and the
What's that?
chapter
Yeah.
had to be warmer, probably.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the chapter before, he just got baptized by Yochanan.
There you go.
I
So
mean,
I'm
without
with
reading and studying the context. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, let me read a real quick thing here. And it says 7 weeks after the exodus from Egypt, the children of Israel stood at the foot of the Mount Sinai and prepared to encounter God. That day, which came to be known as Shavuot, has been understood in Midrash commentary on biblical texts as the day of the marriage between God and the Jewish people. So going to Exodus 19 and jumping through the text there where they are on the mountain, it says God proposes, see 19:5. Now then, if you obey me faithfully and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among the peoples. Verse 8, the people accepted. All the people answered as one, saying, all that the Eternal has spoken, we will do. Jumping to 14, the people cleansed themselves as at a mikvah. Moses came down from the mountain to the people and warned the people to stay pure. They washed their clothes. So it's a total cleansing here. And then, well, actually, okay, so 19, 17, and 18 says, then God and the people joined under a huppah. Moses led the people out of the camp toward God. Now, it's not in text, but it's understood. If we've all heard all the teachings, the mountain actually raised up and the people went under the mountain as a huppah. So it is this is the marriage of the people of God to the Lord. And so to me, when it talks about these porches, the colonnades, and they were covered, it was kind of this, and it's at Shavuot, and they're all wanting to go into the water. To me, all of this together works together. Now, so that's my preface into this. Us being, and of course, these people here being Jewish and recognizing all of this as being the bride of God. Going on to verse 7, the sick man answered, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is disturbed, and while trying to get there, someone goes in ahead of me. Yeshua said to him, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. Immediately the man was healed. He picked up his mat and walked. Now, what we hear the guy saying is, I want to get in the water. I can't do it because no one will put me in the water. It's as though he is saying, as soon as somebody puts me in the water, then I will be healed. And lately, a lot of things that I've been dealing with other people and dealing with people here on Lamb Network is, and in our lives, and every one of us have actually said this, and every one of us have to deal with people that do this, is as soon as this happens, then I will make this happen. And I mean, the real essential thing to me has always been the 11th hour. In other words, and like the 10 virgins, there were some that had the oil and some that were waiting till the 11th hour. So as soon as we get our oil. As soon as this happens, then I will start living fully for the Lord. As soon as my marriage happens, as soon as this happens, then I'll go to synagogue meeting or church meeting or whatever like that. And if we are literally recognizing the marriage of the Lord and the fact that we are his bride, and that we have made a commitment, made a covenant with the Lord, then there shouldn't be, we've already done the as soon as, because we have already made that commitment. So when we go through life on our day-to-day things and around us, and we're constantly saying, as soon as this happens or I get this done, then I will serve the Lord more in this area or whatever like that. And my point is that we have been to the marriage feast. We have already made our covenant with God. There is no more as soon as. We just need to live by the word of God and move on in everything that we do and keep plugging. We need to get to a place in our lives where we no longer think as soon as. We just keep going. We just keep going, keep going, keep going. And our lives are based on that perspective. Sandy, we've been talking about perspective a lot in the past few weeks, both on Monday Reason and on Next Chapter. It all has to do with a perspective of, if we live our lives with an as soon as perspective, we'll be in the 11th hour and we're going to miss everything. So that's my take on as soon as.
Come on, people. That's a message. That's a sermon right there. No more excuses. No more as soon as. Thank you so much, Mark. That's good teaching, actually.
Thank you.
Well, and I bet you it's going to go right along with everything else we're learning today. And it is time for our main segment, the aroma of a living sacrifice, brought to us by Nitza Moshe. We are so glad that you've joined us, and it is yours, Nitza.
Well, as soon as we discipline ourselves and put our spirit over our flesh and pray and fast, we'll have a revival. How's that one?
No.
I'm serious, though, really. Okay, so let's see, 7. I just checking the time here. Okay, so I'm going to try to cram a little bit of a lot. So basically, my thread of thought has been this last year. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's been a really attack. And so I was learning, and in between that and all my health with my eyes and everything, I did some research and discovered that a lot of people with eye problems don't realize they're either diabetic or pre-diabetic and or have kidney issues, but they don't ever connect the ones, because sometimes people get them in reverse order. They don't necessarily go a certain way. So I started fasting. And while I was fasting, one of the things I asked my Father was in heaven is, why is it that when we fast and pray, he hears us? Throughout Scripture, it seems like if it's something important or we really want to get his attention, we fast. And from an aromatherapy mind, and all through the Scriptures, the word wind, spirit, breath is all the same word. Aroma, it's the wind, it's the energy of something that's flowing. And we know that in the tabernacle, the Ketoret, if it wasn't done by a certain family, because sometimes they would try to get someone else to do it for a least amount of bartering price of whatever, that they wouldn't get the Ketoret incense to burn so that it would go straight up. And our prayers are compared throughout scripture with the incense, right? And so if we're praying, and I think there's some other scriptures, if you're not walking in Torah and you're not being obedient, etc., then the Father's not going to hear your prayers, or your prayers seem like they're, they're meandering. They're not really going straight up. And so I was just getting this picture in my mind that when we fast, he seems to hear us. Not that he doesn't hear us other times, but there's this urgency. And I just got this picture that when we fast, our prayers are going straight up. And so I wanted to know, I kind of wanted to know why and how does that work? And so I was doing some research, and this is what I found. I found this quite fascinating, is that, when you're fasting, or let's back up. When you eat, what you eat either turns to fat or it turns to energy. It can't do both. And a lot of times for many of us, it turns to fat, and fat is also protective to us because it also stores the toxins. The body says, you don't belong here. I'm going to shove you over here to be insulated by the fat. And so when you do fast and or do detoxing, a lot of times people, feel awful. They want to vomit. They might get vertigo. They might throw up. They, get headaches, etc. But that's because the body's releasing those toxins faster than the body can release it through respiration, going to the restroom, etc. So that's kind of what's happening, and that's why you do certain herbs and or coffee enemas or whatever it is you choose, magnesium, to make sure things are going through the body so that the plumbing's working to get the toxins out. So, but here's the thing that I found quite fascinating. So when you do lose weight and you are fasting or on a diet, have you ever seen your fat? Where does it go? You don't see fat dumping out, right? Well, that's because when your body causes your fat cells to shrink when you're losing weight, and the metabolic activities generate heat. So it's generating energy, and which helps maintain your body temperature. And you get these waste products. And basically there's this modulation of this energy from the fat. It doesn't just come out of the body as fat. It starts changing. And it turns into mostly water and carbon dioxide. So basically we lose our fat through urine and sweat, but primarily, I think it was 70 to 80% of it is coming out of our lungs as respiration. And understanding those verses and all those connections to aroma and breath, that therefore makes us a living sacrifice when we're fasting and praying. Literally, physically. And so that aroma of fasting is going up. And also fasting is a time for the body to come under submission of the spirit, and to listen to the spirit and the will of the mind instead of us being controlled by the lust of the flesh, in this case, food. And then I was doing some research on the Essenes, and I was also attending this fasting summit with these doctors. And I found that everything that these men in modern history were doing in research and saying about fasting was basically the same thing that the Essenes knew, like how many thousands of years ago. Now, the Essenes are known to, basically, in a sense, take a vow of poverty. And it's believed that they're the ones who were the scribes, took care of the Qumran caves and the treasures of Israel that Jeremiah had hidden, which they took the original treasures of Israel from the tabernacle through an 18-mile tunnel down over by the Dead Sea to the Qumran. And I believe that is what, when you read about the Copper Scroll, that's what that's talking about, is that hidden treasure that's still there today in the desert. I believe personally in the future, when they allow them to dig and take this out, the original Mishkan is there. And side note, I think it's going to be going to Bozrah. But anyway, I believe that people are going to be in that area, kind of like a refugee camp. So anyway, but the thing is this is what the Essenes basically did, without going into detail, is they would go on and tell you that if you ever want to overcome Satan, you ever want to overcome illness, that you will fast. And you will fast at least 1 day a week. And you would do a 7-day fast every 3 months, basically every season. And they also say that they would say or describe it as you would eat from God's table or Yahweh's table, which, is basically saying if Yahweh grew it, created it, so God's table is in the fruit, the vegetables, nuts and seeds, etc. And so that's what they did. And they lived a very long time. They were very not into, being indulgent. And they go on and on about all the health benefits and how it overcomes the enemy and how all sickness is from overindulgence and basically a sin against the living stones tabernacle. So then we come to modern history, and we're having all this science now. And if you don't know about a Dr. Fung, F-U-N-G, I would recommend that you might want to look him up. He is reversing diabetes in people and a lot of diseases, a lot of cancer patients, etc. Of course, we know now that the number one thing that you don't want to do when you have cancer is to use sugar, because cancer feeds on that. But what they're finding is basically the same thing. If you fast for 3 days, autophagy begins. And autophagy basically means that your cells are cleaning up the junk. They're getting rid of all the stuff that blocks your system, because it's really not about today how we don't get defiled. Because, even if you had a perfect garden, unless you lived in an atrium and never left, there's no way you're not going to be defiled by what's in the air, what's in the chemtrails, what is around us, etc. It's really what I've been learning for the last 3 years is about how fast and how efficient your body is to detox, for all the channels to be moving. And a lot of us, our bodies do not detox fast enough. And so the toxins override so much, they go into disease and or make inflammation and other things worse. And for instance, if you have arthritis, 3 years ago, a lot of people don't know this, but I could barely walk up and down the stairs. Arthritis was really, really bad. Today, I don't suffer from any of that because of fasting and detoxing. And so they're finding with this fasting and the research is that after 3 days, autophagy really starts kicking up. Now, what I found fascinating was at 7 days, a 7-day fast, and some say it may begin before that. At a 7-day fast, our body is regenerating stem cells, making new stem cells. Now, with all the stem cell technology and some of it having to use, aborted fetal tissue, etc., it just amazes me that really it boils down to we just need to tell our bodies to come in underneath an order, and we need to strengthen our spirit. Because when we fast, we're making our mind and our bodies become echad and balanced, instead of the body and the lust of the flesh overcoming the spirit. And my thought was, in my case, one of the things I've been healed of so many things through nutrition, natural means. But the one thing that I have not been able to overcome is bone loss, because I don't absorb. Of course, we can get into all kinds of gut things. And that's another thing. When you fast, you're helping your gut heal. Within 3 days, your lining of your stomach, etc., intestinals will start to have new cells. So you're also in the process of healing your gut. And you could do not, not just water fast and lemon, or there's all kinds of things that you can do about fasting, but you could do a juice fast. You could do a broth fast. But that was my main thing, is like, how do I get healed enough so that I'm absorbing all the nutrition that I'm taking to grow back the bone? And so that was what really got my attention about the stem cells. 3 years ago, we had a car wreck. I had 2 herniated discs and a blown knee. I didn't have surgeries. I was in pain for 6 months, but I was fasting and cleansing and rebuilding with bone broth. And I'm fine. And so I think the fascinating thing to me is, number one, when we're fasting, we are literally a living sacrifice, and we're respirating because of what we've chosen to do, to put the spirit over the body. Now, what's more important with this is, some people do fast. Actually, millions of people now are fasting to reverse disease. People are getting healed off their insulin, etc. I mean, these are medical doctors. But sometimes you just need to fast because you've been emotionally, spiritually attacked. You've got a major issue in your life that you're praying or interceding for someone else, or, you just really can't handle all that's going on. But I have found that just by hitting the fasting and the water fasting, it brings clarity to the mind, clarity to the emotions. We have to understand that emotions is energy in motions. And so you're also detoxifying the brain, literally, mentally, etc. So you're healing the body, and you find yourself in this place where those things are much clearer. You can handle the stress better. It seems like some of it even dissipates. And so, basically after 3 days of fasting, you're not hungry anymore. And about 8 o'clock at night, for a lot of people, most people, there's this, I think it's a hormone called ghrelin that tells you you're hungry. And if you can tell your body that, okay, so I'm hungry. Usually when you're hungry, you're actually dehydrated and you need more water. But if you say, hey, I know this feeling is going to go away, so I'm going to endure with my will, my mind, and my spirit, and pray, and you're going to go away. And it does. And I know this is a challenge for a lot of people, but I find that this is a number one problem in, I'm talking to myself, but this is a number one problem with people. And what Father is showing me is, and I want to get really fast to this actually goes all the way up to revival, because when I started researching things about revival, because of these wooden earrings that were taken from a tree where the Great Awakening started, I was learning about this. And so what I found that was interesting about revivals, almost every revival starts with fasting. Almost every one. And the second Great Awakening, which started in this valley of this area called the Rogue Harbor, and it was actually called the Red River Revival. And it was an area in Kentucky where this second Great Awakening started. And basically what happened was there was this, I believe he was a Reverend McGregor, and I think he came from Pennsylvania, and he was with the city folk or the town folk, and he was a pastor there. And evidently he was too powerful of a preacher, I'll put it that way. And they didn't like him. They didn't like him so much that they threatened him and put blood on his desk. And so that caused him to leave the city folks, the hotty-toddies, and go out to this place called Rogue Harbor, where all the pioneers and the trappers and, all the sinners and the drunkards, etc., country people were. And he took over 3 churches, 3 congregations in this area. And for 2 years, he preached and he couldn't get them to do anything except for one thing, and that was fasting. And I believe it was only 1 day a month. And after 2 years, the Great Awakening, with the power of the Holy Spirit, all the signs and wonders and miracles happened over that period of time. And a short little side story is there's a tree there, a maple tree that's several hundred years old, that got hit by lightning, and they had to remove the tree to protect the building. And I went to this Christian powwow with this Native American Indians, and they were selling earrings and some jewelry. And this wood here is taken from this. And I understand Ricky Skaggs, if you study Ricky Skaggs, the musician, he's from that area, got a long, long history in that area. And he took some of the wood to build, fiddles, etc. And the Native American Indians made drums from them and jewelry from them. And the idea or the concept, and we're going to go woo-woo on you here, is the power and the energy and the vibrations and everything that happened during that Great Awakening happened right up underneath that tree. And can you imagine people coming to camp from all over the country? And they didn't have cars, they didn't have buses back then. They came there and they camped out, and 24 hours a day, they were filled with the Holy Spirit. People were being saved. People were being set free. And if you go on and study all the great revivals, this is basically how every one of them starts. Many of them started between here and Wales and England, etc., with children. We're talking small elementary children to, a little bit older children with fasting and prayer. One of my favorite heroes, Patrick Henry, he was underneath the Great Awakening preacher Samuel Davies. And so I believe that we need to get ourselves in line individually with our wills over our bodies. And I'm convinced this is going to solve about 90% of our problems that we have amongst our brethren with each other. And we cannot become one. We cannot be Akkad, and we cannot overlook each other's differences if we can't even overlook the difference between our spirit and our body and get that under control. And I believe that if we will fast with prayer, not just prayer, if we add fasting to our lives and to our congregations, I believe that we can get to the point where we can come back and we can begin to unify the Akkad with a common purpose in the spirit to have a revival.
Amen. And that's what we need. That's what we need as a people. Hey, Nitza, I had a couple of quick questions just because you gave a lot of good information. And when you're talking about fasting, specifically the fasting that regenerates, and I know I've read articles on it myself, what is the best type of fast for that? Is it a complete fast, a water fast, a juice fast?
A water fast. But that doesn't mean you can't do a lot with bone broth. And a lot of vegetarians, this is my experience, a lot of vegetarians, and I have been a vegetarian, but I'm not now. I just tell them, one thing that a lot of people overlook is all the vitamins, the minerals, and the amino acids that's really needed are missing from a vegetarian diet to regenerate nerve, bone, cartilage, and tissue.
And muscle, even muscle.
Yeah, because you understand, one thing about being a vegetarian or not, what we don't understand is in ancient Israel or in other cultures that grow, and if you've ever been a person who raised your food from scratch, I mean, I've raised my own chickens, I've raised my own sheep, I've raised my own goats. Think about that, Abraham. They didn't have meat every day. They had it during the feast or during a celebration. And even the Native American cultures, all these other cultures, they had just a little bit of meat. And when they didn't let any of it go to waste. And then they took that bone and they simmered it and they simmered it and they simmered it. And, and they would live off of that nutrition from those bones for months, especially during the wintertime. But the research is mostly, I believe you can get a lot with bone broth, but the seems to be the strongest is water fasting. And the thing is our bodies naturally do shut down when we're sick and don't want to eat, because when we don't eat, we're letting our body rest, and that energy is going towards healing whatever needs to be healed. And then you can do the same thing as far as healing and getting some of these benefits by intermittent fasting, which is basically where you can take a 4 to 6 window of each day and letting your body heal and having the energy to do what it needs to do the rest of the day. And the thing that I think I missed for a long time was, paleo diet to me was, that's evolution, and they eat a lot of pork. But the thing is it's not really about that. And what we don't realize is when we're also fasting at the same time, and there's a lot of ways to do it, but when you fast, you're also killing off and not creating the environment for pathogens and parasites to live in. which causes parasites are behind diabetes. Parasites are behind cataracts. Parasites are behind arthritis. But we're not taught these things. You know, we don't know and we don't understand because that's not what the mainstream is telling us. But the one that seems to be the best is water fasting because you want to be hydrated. Now there is a thing I haven't researched it a lot, but they say a dry fast, which could be Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the one time I try not to do water for 24 hours, and that is extremely difficult for me. But Yom Kippur is coming up, and that is the perfect time to do it. And if you don't feel like you can do that, at least do it with water. It's not so hard to have an afternoon eat a meal and sleep all day. No, sleep, and then wait till the next afternoon to have your your break in your fast. But I believe Father, he has those periods and times where the body just needs to do that. But yeah, there's so much more to it. But on one hand, it's very simple: water.
Right.
And if you're going to have problems, I love the water fast. I feel wonderful and best on water fast. But I have a little problem with the mineral issues. And so a lot of times I will do just bone broth fasting because I need all those vitamins and minerals for my bones. And so I won't get spasms all the time. So,
right.
Yeah. But we're going to go into detail on a lot of that at Sukkot, actually. So,
well, and that's going to be interesting. One more thing. And then Tova, also for you, water, does it matter? Do you use the alkaline water, the bottled water? That's for you, or just water out of the tap, which is so full of other nasty stuff.
Oh, well, you want clean water.
Yeah, my last thing for you is Nitza, is you had talked about combining it with detox. What is I know we can't spend long, just a very short time. What is the best detox to do along with fasting? And how does it happen?
Well, you are detoxing just by fasting, right? But there are some amazing products that we actually have been using and experimenting with, and I got approved as a practitioner from Cellcore. But I want to tell you about this one product because I've been taking herbs and doing herbs for 40 years. Okay. I've seen some amazing things happen, but this is like the most immediate, amazing thing I have ever seen. This is called Para One, and we'll have them on the website soon. I've been selling them like crazy, but I ain't got them on the website. I ain't got no. But anyway, what's in this bottle is mimosa pudica seed. It has to be the seed. And once it gets into the body, the thing about this is not like bentonite clay or charcoal, which is all good for binding to take toxins out of the body, right? This is also nutritional. And it's kind of like a silly putty. Once it gets wet in the body, it's also got a mucilage property maybe to it. And it just grabs a hold of whatever's going on. And even though you thought you were detoxing and you were doing colonics or you're doing coffee enemas or you were doing herbs, whatever you thought you were doing, this is a game changer.
Okay. Could you hold that closer to your camera so people, what's it called again?
It's called Para One.
You might put that in the chat here in a second. Para One. How do you spell that?
PARA1. And you can get this at remnantremedy.com and go to Pure Shimon. And you're not going to find it there right now, so just email me or contact me. And we have full courses of we have full detoxes. Like we have a mold detox. We have a complete detox. All kinds of detoxes with these products. They're wonderful. And there's only a couple of companies that actually have mimosa pudica seed. But I'm telling you, I can't tell you, like within a couple of days, the stomach, a lot of people can get the big intestines cleaned out, but they can't, they have small intestine issues. I'm telling you, you could just watch your body go down. And if you look in the toilet, you're going to go, oh my God. And then it becomes a war. Now, for a lot of people, that's like really gross and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to go there. But you know what? When you see them, you're going, this is war. Okay.
Right.
And hopefully in the future, we're going to have a show here. Jessica Fisher, who did the Holiness Vibrations show with me, we're going to come on and we're going to do a coffee talk bottoms up. because we also have a coffee routine, a booster for those who do coffee enemas. And for those who don't know, coffee enemas are excellent for detoxing, making your body make its glutathione, helping the liver release. Coffee going in the inversion way has a whole different effect on the body, and also pain and inflammation. Anyway, it has all kinds of things that happen that trigger your body to do the things it's supposed to do, but can't because it's become so toxic. Anyway.
Right. Well, I love it. I love what you brought us today. And there wasn't a lot of time for commentary, but it was really, really good information. I want to say one thing. We as a congregation always have in the past have done 21-day fasts. And a lot of times we suggest, but it's not 21 days juice. We usually say if you can fast water for 3 days or so to clear yourself out, and then go on a Daniel or something if you can't do anything else. And just that way, you find your weight drop, you find so much more energy, your taste even changes, your desire for sugar becomes none. You don't want anything sweet and when it's all done, and you feel so good after it. And so fasting is a life changer, folks.
Well, one of the things that really helped me, and I think this might help a lot of people, if you like getting in your head and purposing to fast for spiritual reasons first, prayer first, I think is more motivating for people, and to realize that you literally, really, really, really are a living sacrifice, and everything that you're offering up by that controlling of the spirit over the body is going up in respiration to him. And we all know that if you listen to us long enough, that we all have our own aroma, literally, too. So your pheromone.
Sandy, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Because we've been discussing fasting. There is intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That is just as good. Let's just say that you can't right now fast.
Right. And I really don't. A lot of people really shouldn't go cold turkey into fasting. They should start, because it's really like building a muscle, and it's a mindset. So intermittent fast is a very good way to start. And basically that means that you're going to, and this is also used for sugar control and diabetes and lots of other things. You're just not going to get the stem cells and a lot of other mega things, but you do get some, is what they're finding. So basically what you do is, if you eat at noon today, you set a clock, and you're not going to eat till let's say 5 o'clock. Let's say you eat your 5 o'clock dinner. Don't eat again until noon tomorrow, and then only eat from noon to 6. I suggest you start out with an 8. Oh, wow. Thank you. You start out with a 8-hour window of eating, and then go to a 6-hour window of eating. So, I personally like to eat from noon to 5. That works usually for my schedule. But the more you can reduce that, so you're basically exercising. So just start out with, I'm going to eat only 8 hours during the day, no snacking after that 8-hour period, and then go to 6 hours and do that. And, set a day aside. Some people like to fast on Shabbat. Some people like to feast on Shabbat. Some people make that their one free day. But just doing that is helping the blood sugar. And that's really what a lot of it has to do with, is the blood sugar, so that your body is burning ketones instead of glucose, and you're helping balance your body. And historically, we didn't have access to a pantry and a fridge 24/7. We couldn't eat anything and everything we wanted. And the body is just overloaded and cannot process all of that enough. So I like to get down to a 4 window before I go to my 3-day water and lemon fast. Lemon's important because of electrolytes, things like that. So what I did when I first started out this year is I went to intermittent. I started out with 8. I went to 6 hours. I went to 4 hours. Then I did 3-day broth. Now, in this case, I did homemade broth because it's heavier with the fat. And that's another thing you're going to learn. Oh, let me not miss this. Okay. So our body is built like a menorah, and I'm not going to go into all of that, but our body's like a menorah. Our brain has to operate from fat. So if you think about the menorah, the middle shamish, right? This one right here, which usually, is all fed up like a tree. Okay. Think of your mind as this shamish. It has to have oil. It has to be lubricated. It has to have that light to feed everything else or the body. Okay. So fat is really, really important. And fat causes your body to go into more ketone energy instead of burning glucose. So that's another way. If you're having problems and you are doing any kind of fast and you don't want to break it completely or you want to help it, you can take coconut oil. You could take olive oil, but a lot of people take MCT oil, which I personally was always taught in aromatherapy that wasn't safe, but now Costco's selling it. It's safe on essential oils, but I'm not sure that it's the best thing to eat. I mean, just eat regular coconut oil, refined, but not MCT oil. Mine's personal. I don't think it's that safe, but so yeah, you can do fat. Fat's really important to do. So go from intermittent fasting, get that window narrowed down, make it easier for yourself, because a lot of it has to do with it. Most of it's right here in the brain. And then go to your 3-day broth fast. I happen to like to have the bone broth protein and the multi-collagen in the powder form by Ancient Nutrition or Dr. X. Because then when I'm traveling or I just need it right away. So I kind of do a back and forth between, I got fresh broth that if I don't use it right away, I freeze it and I use, and then I have that powder and then I can take it wherever I want and I can use it however. So then go to your 1 day, go to a 18-hour water fast. Go to a 24-hour water fast. And then go to 36 hours and 48 hours because you're going to get yourself, most people, especially if they've never done a lot of detoxing or fasting or anything like that, they have to work their mindset into it because we are so taught that if you don't eat, you're going to get sick and you're going to die. The biggest problem about when you get sick is just stay hydrated. If your loved ones don't feel like eating, watch animals. They do the same thing. They don't want to eat. But we have been taught and we teach our bodies to override that we have to eat. And so, anyway, Dr. Fung, there's a lot of them. There's Dr. Pompous, Dr. J, but Dr. Fung, especially if you have obesity and kidney disease and diabetes, because they are reversing it. People are getting healed. And I think that's phenomenal.
Your information is so great, and we were talking about, or we could listen to you all day talk and teach, and because this information, people are ignorant of it. Wouldn't you say that, Joe?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is why I wanted to have her bring up a little bit more about the intermittent, because some people like to dive into fasting and then they fail it and they think, oh, I can't do it, and they don't try again. So, like she said, try intermittent fasting to start off and then go from there. It's just like reading the scripture.
It is. Jonathan is actually the one that got me to start intermittent fasting about a year ago. And not that I ate much anyway. I think I was doing it without knowing it, but he is really big, or it was, not now because he has to eat whenever he can possibly get food. But he was the one that got me started doing intermittent fasting. And because especially when you're working out, you just drop weight. You drop weight that way too. So.
Well, and you get more energy. I do intermittent fasting, and since I started it, which has been a while, I've noticed more energy within my body, and also the sleep issue. Getting more sleep as well because of intermittent fasting. And I also, yes, I'm going through menopause. I know TMI for some people, but it helps. Intermittent fasting does help with menopause as well. So.
Yeah, there's a whole science behind it. It's really quite amazing. And then just to go back and see, they knew that 2,000 years ago, Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you so much, Nitza. We're going to have you on again soon. Maybe to continue this, maybe to tell us something else. I've loved it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mark, for joining us today and running the helm. And Miss Joe, thank you for being my partner always. And guys, re-listen to this. You're probably going to learn a lot more and have a little laugh. And don't make your day and your life an as soon as day, by the way. Yeah.
Yes, fast now.
If you don't know what that is, you need to go back and listen to Mark David Smith's segment as soon as. By the way, when all four of us are on there, it looks like a pantomime that we could do. But does anybody know in the chat room what our word of the day is? Well, I'm going to tell you. If you didn't guess, it's pantomime. Yeah, that's our word of the day. That's the word we use several times throughout the broadcast. We're going to be doing that more, so be ready. By the way, did anybody get the answer to a recent poll of adults revealed that around 20% of us eat this every day? It's cereal. Cereal.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Gross.
Yeah, my husband eats that almost every day, and it's like, really? I'd love to throw that box away, but
I didn't hear it. What is it?
Cereal.
Cereal?
Yeah.
Really?
Cardboard.
I thought it was octopus.
Oh, right. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. Next week, we have Dr. Dina Dye going to be on this program. Spread the word. Hey, again, like this show, share it, and watch it again. Yeah, do that. Anyway, donations to Lamb Radio. Man, donations are important, but most people think money is what drives the ministry. Lamb believes that without prayer and praise, one has no ministry. So please donate as y'all leads. And until next time, the next chapter, don't forget it. Put it on your schedules. What, Mark?
Stay hydrated. Stand under a waterfall at least an hour a day, and that's all the water you'll need for a week. That's it right there.
Oh my.
What we have to put up with just to have me on the show. Hey,
we love having you on the show.
You invited
Sorry about
me.
that. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know I was going to go up on the screen.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks again. It's time for us to go on with our day. Yah bless you guys. We love you all. And shalom.
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 We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the streets of gold. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the New Jerusalem. And we will sing Kadosh, Kadosh to the Lord of hosts, joining in the angels' choir. And forever we will be.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hugie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the New Jerusalem. And we will sing Kadosh, Kadosh to the Lord of hosts, joining in the angels' choir. And forever we will be all in unity, every nation and every tribe. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at it.
Hello, this is John Craig.
And this is Sandi Craig. And we want to invite you to the Feast of Tabernacles 2021. What's it called? Roar from Zion. And it is September 20th through the 28th at Lake Paladuro in Spearman, Texas. And you don't want to miss it.
That's right. So Life of Worship Ministries and Messianic Lamb Network would like to invite you and your family to join us at the 2021 Feast of Tabernacles. Theme is, I'm going to say it again, Roar from Zion.
And it's going to be a great time of fellowship as we gather together as the body of Messiah Yeshua to honor our King. In addition to this, it's a beautiful setting, and we're working to provide a week that serves to edify the body as well as honor Yahweh and promote an atmosphere of worship in the spirit-filled and spirit-led Sukkot.
So we will have some great speakers like Dr. Dina Dye and Eddie Chumney. Of course, John and Sandi Craig, that's us, and more. And along with the nightly worship and teaching, there's going to be special workshops ranging from archery, preps, dance to special teachings, as well as children and youth activities.
And you're going to be able to take advantage of the campground's outdoor activities like volleyball and hiking and fishing and frisbee golf and so much more.
So in addition to these events, we'll have a mikvah and marriage renewal for those who are interested. So we have several different options as far as registration in order to meet everyone's needs.
There's that full-time rate covering the entire Sukkot celebration for adults and kids, as well as
weekend rates for the final days, Friday to Sunday.
Or even the single night or day rates for that first Monday through Thursday. You know what? We have options. We have options for you.
Yeah, so lodging, you can have tent spaces, RV sites. We have a discounted rate at a local hotel. So
anything, you got it. And we want you to join us. In fact, we can't wait until you are there with us.
So join us for the Feast of Tabernacles 2021, Roar from Zion. And if you have any questions, please contact us.
And you can go to www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org and you can get that information or email us at low@lifeofworshipamarillo.org.
All right.
We'll see you there.
That's right. See ya.
All right, we're going to talk about our DNA today. And have you ever wondered why some patterns in your family history keep happening over and over? They reoccur in life over and over again, such as strongholds, such as anxiety and poverty and illness and addictions. Those are just a few of them. Well, the word refers to these as generational curses. Also, demonic activity. Yeah, it can be demonic activity. Well, we're going to talk about our DNA because this is going to be very interesting and may open up some understanding of what's happening, because the concept of general curses, even demonic activity, it goes back into Genesis 20 or Exodus 20 verse 5. And you can study that on your own, and of course more throughout the whole word. But I want to say that studies in epigenetics have shown us that our experiences, our words, our thoughts, our choices, our habits actually change our brain and our DNA down to the very DNA level. The epigenetics information that sits above the genome controls the programming of the DNA and instructing the different cells on how to express themselves, how to manifest, so to speak. And Dr. Jess Montgomery explains sensations we put into the brain will use the DNA to change how the cell responds. And those genes are turned off or on based on what the response is. Well, the DNA doesn't change, the expression changes. And what's really fascinating about that study is that it reveals that our DNA is not immutable, which was the former notion, but that environment, all the things that I just said, change the way our body functions and behaves. That not only, and here's the kicker, not only do we pass along the DNA sequence to our children, but we even pass those instructions, the things that instructs our DNA how to behave, onto our kids, so it can be inherited and transmitted through generations. And an example would be in a study with mice, is that they were taught how that this fruity odor brought fear, and the next generation responded without being trained, responded to that same odor without training at all. So, and there's other studies, we don't have time to go over each and every one of them, but even on 9/11, those people that were pregnant on 9/11, when those babies were born, they had sort of a post-traumatic stress disorder themselves, and they were affected by loud noises and fear and things like that, that even though they had never been exposed to anything that would cause that, because there's something that happens on the DNA level. And that's why they say that even stress is an open door for demonic activity. Yeah, it is. Anyway, so the sins of the father, that's the concept of this generational curse under the microscope. Your habits and all your experience have greater social implications than you would ever hear. So when your mom or dad told you, or your brother, your sister, your friend, hey, watch how you think, watch how you act, et cetera, break those things off. It's important, because you're literally handing that stuff down to your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and need I say more, because then they'd experience it and they hand it down. So it's this cycle, never-ending cycle, because the DNA has been literally changed in us by the way we act, by the way we think, by the sin that we have in our own lives. It opens up a change in our DNA marker. That's why the sins of the father are passed down. That's why, and that it can be good too, guys. It can be good things that pass down as well. But when we have kids, we pass that sequence to them, but it can be broken. It can be corrected. So Dr. Doug Weiss says, don't think of it as a battle. You're just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for the lineage that God gave you, and you will break the curse. Then your sons and your daughters have a better shot, and your grandchildren have a better shot. And that even goes with deliverance. Now, I want to couple this with some studies that have been shown. And I pulled down 3 articles, and I haven't put the links in, but they show that your DNA can be programmed by your words and your thoughts. Yeah, folks, because we have 7% of the junk DNA, which is 90% of our DNA, actually serves as a biological web tool, sort of an internet to our bodies. And it causes when we meditate, when I say meditate, I'm not talking new age. I'm talking, there's a reason that Yah tells us to dwell on things that are good and lovely, because those things are what's going to affect our body. Because when our thoughts and our words align more to the frequency of negative, of you're sick, you're tired, you're whatever it may be, we're literally switching our DNA, changing our DNA because of the frequency and the vibration that goes out. And that happens in live tissue. It's going to respond to the vibration of language. Think about that. Those things that you've heard us talk about before, it literally goes down to a cellular level, a cellular DNA level, even bigger than cellular, a DNA level. It is proven, the study shows that x-rays have changed, that the damage x-rays have done can be changed and corrected. But here's something interesting as well. Let me see if it is discovered, and here's where the demonic activity can come in that you may never have understood, because your spirit is not affected, but your flesh is. Your flesh, your soul, those things can be affected. And this study says it was discovered that when the human DNA, when in a vacuum, can give rise to the production of magnetized wormholes. Now, this sounds freaky weird, but I want you to think about it, because we're talking about other dimensional things. And we have talked before about CERN opening up dimensions and things like that. But these tunnels serve as this bridge to the outside world and allows transfer. Now, I want you to just I know that's weird, but I want you to think about, we always say, well, how does that happen? Well, maybe this is a way it happens and it affects our DNA. That's why we've got to break the curses and go through deliverance. Our words, our thoughts, our habits, sin, all change not only who we are, but they change us for generations. So here's my word. We need to change the way we think. We need to purposely break the bad habits in our lives. We need to change how we talk. Whatever is good, whatever is lovely, whatever is praiseworthy, we need to shift the atmosphere around us, because a lot of the issues that we have, we've opened the door for them, or maybe others have. But Yah has given us a tool and a blueprint. His name is greater than any other name. And prayer is powerful. This actually goes to how prayer works. When you work out these studies, when we pray for healing, when we speak life and not death over one another, that how this can affect a person, because this study also goes into group dynamics. When we're all agreeing on one thing, and in prayer and in song we do, then it literally can affect something that's far away. And they did that with examples of bees and ants, how when the queen is there, things function as they're supposed to. When she dies, even though the ants and bees aren't in their present, everything breaks down. So there's so much research on this that sounds new age, but here's the next thing. Hasn't it always been that it is the occult, and whether you want to say new age, whatever, that has taken concepts that are true and twisted them for their own benefit? Let me tell you, these false religions believe in the power of thought and words. And and much of the Christian church does too, but do we truly believe it? Because we continue to walk it out and say and destroy life by the way we think and act and the habits that we have. But these other religions have tapped into the truth and twisted it for their own benefit. And why don't we take the truth back and twist it, and not twist it, untwist it for his glory, and become different in our bodies? Yeah, because these things affect how we feel and how we live, and affect the generations ahead. So there's a lot more to it, but just the basic thing: prayer, worship, deliverance, breaking sin patterns in our own life. These things have power for the negative or for the good. Epigenetics, DNA. Literally, if they can be healed and transformed because of the word and because of Yah. And we can become, instead of a sick, broken population with broken homes, we can become a healthy population of believers that can focus, instead of so inwardly, we can focus outwardly and take back what the enemy has stolen. Anyway, so you guys jump in here now. I want to know what you guys think about this for a few minutes anyway. And like I said, I think it plays right into what Sherry's main topic is going to be today. And so.
Well, I think it's one of many, even though it's on a small cellular perspective. It is a physical manifestation of a spiritual thing. Is what it is, and we deal with these things all the time. They're always in front of our face, physical manifestations of spiritual things. Even though we don't see DNA, it's something that's actual there. I mean, my DNA's here, your DNA's there. A lot of what I've been teaching on lately has been culture, and it's amazing because a culture is everywhere, and each one of us have our own culture, and DNA incorporates the culture of a person and all the soul and all this different things that's there. So to me, in a nutshell, it's a physical manifestation of the spiritual thing, because the spirituality of that works in the science.
Joe.
Yeah, you're talking about the science. Our cells change every day. So if you're going to sit there and be angry constantly, your cells are going to break down in your body. And, especially when you have, like my mom always would say, turn the frown upside down. She says, why are you furrowing your brow? Why are you being angry? You need to be happy, because you know what? When you get older, your face is going to go drag to the ground. I mean, it's just something my mom would tell us. And yeah, she would say it in her accent. So I'm not doing the accent because it's very difficult to do all that. But she was trying to show us that our actions also affect, like you were saying, our DNA, our perspective, our way of life. It doesn't just affect us, it affects those around us as well. And if we are going to go out and we are going to be light for his glory, then we should be not sitting there at the cash register going, the register lady goes, how's your day? Well, I had such a bad day. My back is killing me. My head hurts. He's sitting up and saying, hallelujah, praise the Lord. I'm here and I'm walking, and God gave me the money to buy food, and present ourselves that way. I believe God takes our DNA and changes it when we follow his word and we're obedient to his word. He changes our DNA. Like, I have in my DNA this thing, which I'm going to re-say that now. I'm dealing with this thing in my DNA, which is RP, which the Father is taking and tweaking and turning it back to the way it should be, which is being able to see things properly. And we need, and I'm learning through this process of my DNA being changed, not just physical, but spiritual. Praising him. That's another thing. You said prayer, but praise is another thing.
Yes.
Praising, rejoicing. Look at the fruits of the Spirit. All the fruits of the Spirit will change your DNA to the best. And you know what? Ladies, you won't get as many wrinkles. You won't look as old as you are physically. You will still get wrinkles and stuff, but if you have that smile, you'll have that beautiful wrinkle of a smiling wrinkle. You will have that beautiful little, what are those called? Crow's feet? Because you've been smiling instead of frowning, and you will look beautiful to the world instead of looking miserable. And we need to remember that.
That's right. Sherry.
Amen. I agree with Mark that it's a spiritual thing being manifest out in the physical, that everything starts from the spiritual and manifests outward. And it's interesting because I noticed, like, some of the commercials for Jenny Craig and Nutrisystem and everything, they're offering DNA testing because they are finding that DNA testing maps out body-specific eating patterns, how your body processes food and minerals and vitamins, and they tailor their system for you, because one person may digest something differently. And so they are actually using the DNA testing to help with weight loss, and they're finding a great deal of help with that. And to help people that have previously not been able to lose weight, be able to lose weight by gearing it to their DNA, which I found was interesting. I was like, what did that just say? I mean, I just noticed that a couple of days ago. And then there was a Japanese scientist, Emoto, or Japanese, he's a naturopathic doctor, I think, Emoto, and he did research on water. Some of the water had been exposed to positive words, classical music, and even positive prayer, and then frozen. And then another thing of water had been exposed to negative words, crude music, harsh music, and he looked at, and that was frozen. And then he looked at the crystals that were formed in the water, and the ones that had the positive were beautifully formed, but the ones that were not were really ugly type crystals. They didn't have, but they had
No
break
symmetry.
things like that. So I found that way. And so that comes back to the words we speak. Do we speak positive or do we speak negative? Do we, what do we think on? You know, that's a lot. Where is it? Philippians, I think, says, think on these things, whatever is good, whatever, you know, it gives a list there of things, and they're all positive things. So, and one other thing, this is interesting. I heard Brad Scott say this a while back. He talked about how music changes your DNA. And there's a lot of men in prison that have been listening to this boom boxes and having it go through their body so loudly. And then they came up with DNA after that. And they found that their DNA did not match the DNA found at the crime. Now, was it because their DNA was changed in prison, or was it because, you know, so that they've been looking at that too.
Something that what you just said, and I will attest to this. I've been visiting this person in the pavilion, which this person had tried to commit suicide, and there were other issues. And when you try, then there's other things going on. And as I was meeting with this person, young person, I said, what are you listening to? And the stuff music wise. And they said and all of it was about committing suicide, doing this and this and this. And I told her, I said, you've got to stop that. And I explained and some things like that. And as I've been ministering there, but that is the power. We in this society think we're too logical, too scientific to understand that words and thoughts have power over our own body. Now, science is proving that out, but we that call ourselves believers here in Western society consider ourselves too sophisticated even for the understanding of the demonic, where if you go over to other third world countries, they understand what that is and they put it in its proper place. We've got to get down and get back and understand and see things as a child and stop thinking that we've got to be so spiritually, it's a religious spirit.
Spiritually sophisticated.
That we are really spiritually ignorant. Yeah. And that's not true. Anyway, hey guys.
Couple of quick things before we go. A word I ran into the other day that I had never heard before, I didn't even know this was an actual condition, is called ataraxia. Anybody know what that means? Ataraxia. This is a real thing, and they're saying it's a disorder, but I don't see how it could be. Ataraxia is the absence of mental stress or anxiety, peace of mind, peacefulness, repose, blah, 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 tranquility, all that. So it's spelled ATARAXIA. It's almost like anorexia, but it's ataraxia. And it's a real condition that people have, and you're born with it, and it's part of a DNA in that they never get stressed. You can stand there and accuse them of murder and accuse them of, say all kinds of things to them, and they will not get stressed over it. They just don't care. It doesn't enter into who they are. And that is something I found, and they were talking about how it's embedded, and it's even the opposite. So a lot of us that gets real stressed out and we're offended real easy and that type of thing, it literally might be in your DNA. It might be how you're trained to be that way. And real quickly before we go, I'd like to ask Joe. Joe, can you tell us about this person that that works at the cash register you were talking about a while ago? He was saying, I've had such a bad day and all this kind of stuff. Because the way you were saying it, I'm real sure that Rosanna Dana works at this cash register, because it just sounded exactly like it.
And her last name was Banana.
Roseanne, yeah, banana. So go back and watch the tape because I'm sure that's the person that worked.
Yeah, we have a friend in the family. She's passed now. Her monotone was always very calm.
Mm-hmm.
She never got upset. She'd be like, "That's really upsetting, but you know what? Everything will be fine."
Right.
She was always, and my mother, and I have my mother's Hispanic, and this is a Mexican woman that was like the Hispanic, bam, and she'll come to my mom and she goes, "It's okay. Calm down." So these were my two moms. The other one is, of course, one biological. The other one's my spiritual mom. Those two, when they were together, they balanced everything. But yeah, there are people like that. They're very just.
Well, y'all know Adina, my wife. Every one of you have met her. You know her. The woman she can get stressed. She can get offended. Not easily, but it never lasts. And when we first got together, she used to upset me because you can stress her out, you can make her mad and the whole thing, and literally 2 minutes later it's like nothing happened. And it used to make me mad. It's like my mom taught me that if you get upset or offended, you're offended for days. You don't let that go. Even if they apologize, you don't let that go. And my wife can let everything go within minutes. And I had to get used to it. It made me mad that it's like, anyway. And she has kind of that anorexia type of thing where it just.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Shalom, brothers and sisters in Yeshua. Many times we hear about how alone many of us feel in the communities where we live. We could be surrounded with people if we live in a city, or we could be surrounded with nothing other than nature, or we could be living somewhere in between. Yet, without brethren of like mind, there is emptiness within our heart that desires to be filled. Colossians 3 verse 14 reminds us that love is what binds us together in unity, and as a unified people we are strong.